I'm a 28-year-old woman engaged to my amazing fiancé, Mark, who's 30. We've been together for 3 years and are gearing up for our wedding later this year. The problem is Mark's older sister, Sarah, 33, who's been making hurtful remarks about me for months. Sarah has always been straightforward, but her comments have recently turned vicious. She's been suggesting I'm not worthy of Mark and frequently targets my looks. Here are some examples of her behavior. Once she gave me a slow once-over and said, "I always pictured Mark with someone more polished and slender. Guess he's switched up his preferences." It was a thinly veiled insult. At a family gathering, she teased Mark in front of me, saying, "Love must really cloud your vision, right?" with a pointed glance my way. Mark gently chided her, but she brushed it off as a joke. Another time, during a chat about wedding dress shopping, Sarah sneered, "Hope they stock your size, we wouldn't want a troll bride." Yes, she actually called me a troll while staring right at me. I was floored and wounded. These are just a few instances. Every encounter brings a fresh jab disguised as humor or concern. She critiques my makeup, hair, figure, or even my job, hinting I'm not driven enough for their accomplished family. It's like she's dismantling me piece by piece. I've tried to shrug it off, but it stings deeply. I'm no runway model, but I've never felt unattractive until now. Her words, calling me a troll or suggesting I'm unappealing and unfit, have started eroding my self-esteem. I'm questioning my wedding dress choice and whether I even fit into this family. I've spoken to Mark about how Sarah's remarks are affecting me. He adores his sister and claims she's just guarding him. He says things like, "Sarah's always blunt, she doesn't mean it," or "She's hard on everyone at first, she'll warm up." He's even suggested I might be taking her quips too seriously, as he doesn't think she's been that harsh. It's easy for him to say he's not the one being labeled a troll. Mark hasn't outright called me oversensitive, but by constantly minimizing her actions, it feels that way. He mentioned Sarah had a rough breakup years ago and is cautious about anyone he dates. She's now married to a great guy, by the way, as if that excuses her cruelty. He believes she'll eventually accept me and is just looking out for him. Meanwhile, I'm dreading any event where I'll see her, knowing I'll leave feeling terrible about myself. For context, I've always been courteous to Sarah. I admired her bond with Mark when we first met. I've tried connecting with her, invited her to coffee, sought her input on the wedding to involve her. But she either dismisses me or uses it as a chance to snipe. For instance, when I asked if she'd join me and my mom to shop for dresses, she said, "Someone's got to make sure you don't pick something gaudy." I was stunned. I didn't invite her again after that, and now she holds it against me, saying I'm shutting her out of the wedding. It's a no-win situation. This has put me in a tough spot. I love Mark and want to marry him, but his sister seems determined to tear me down. I'm starting to wonder if she's trying to sabotage our relationship by crushing my confidence or sparking arguments between Mark and me. It might sound extreme, but that's how it feels after months of her hostility. Mark doesn't see it that way. He admits Sarah can be harsh, but thinks I'm reading too much into it. He keeps urging me to ignore her, saying that's just how she is with newcomers. But I'm not a newcomer anymore. I'm about to be family. I've told Mark I need him to defend me more firmly. He says he'll talk to her, but I'm not convinced he fully understands, especially if he thinks I'm just being sensitive. I'm starting through the post to feel isolated in this. It's gotten to the stage where I'm considering whether Sarah should be excluded from our wedding, or at least from planning, as I don't want her negativity tainting our special day. But I know suggesting that will upset Mark, and it's already causing strain between us. So I'm seeking an outside perspective. Am I blowing this out of proportion? Would I be wrong to set firm boundaries or bar my future sister-in-law from wedding activities due to her toxic behavior? I don't want to fracture their family, but I'm nearing my limit. Edit to add, after reading some early comments, many of you asked about Mark's parents and their stance. To clarify, his parents are lovely and have never been unkind to me. They haven't seen Sarah's worst comments, as she usually delivers them when no one else is listening or masks them as jokes. I haven't told my future in-laws about her remarks, hoping it would resolve without involving the whole family. Some of you wondered if this is about wealth or status. I don't think so. We're all middle-class professionals, no major financial disparities. Sarah and I work in different industries, but I doubt that's the issue. It feels deeply personal, and I don't know why she resents me so much. Update 1. Thanks to your advice, I realized I needed to be firmer with Mark about boundaries and standing up for me. Many of you suggested postponing the wedding or seeking couples counseling if he didn't take my concerns seriously. Those comments hit hard. Before our engagement party a few days after my original post, I had a serious talk with Mark. I told him I wouldn't tolerate more disrespect from Sarah and needed him to support me at the party and beyond. I said, "If Sarah makes any cruel remarks, you need to call her out immediately. Don't brush it off." I also shared that the consensus online was that her behavior isn't normal sibling protectiveness. It's toxic, and Mark needs to recognize it. He was surprised by how invested strangers were but listened. He admitted he'd been trying to avoid conflict and hadn't realized how much this was hurting me. He said, "Okay, I'll talk to her and ask her to be on her best behavior at the party. I promise she won't ruin it for you." He still seemed to think nothing major would happen, but my mention of possibly excluding Sarah seemed to sink in. He looked upset and said, "Please don't decide anything like that until I try to fix this." I agreed to give him a chance since he acknowledged the issue. At the engagement party, a small event at a local venue with family and friends, I was nervous but hopeful since Mark said he'd spoken to Sarah. He told me she agreed to behave, though I wasn't privy to their conversation. Initially, things went smoothly. Sarah greeted me with a polite smile and even a brief hug, shocking as she'd never done that before. I thought maybe she was making an effort. She mingled with her parents and relatives while I chatted with guests, and I started to relax, thinking my worries were overblown. Then my maid of honor, my best friend Lisa, pulled me aside, furious. She'd overheard Sarah trash-talking me near the refreshment table to her two friends, her plus-ones, and one of Mark's aunts. Lisa heard Sarah say I was like a troll for her brother. Apparently the aunt had said I seemed kind, and Sarah replied, "Kind maybe, but Mark's a prince and he's stuck with Shrek." One of her friends laughed, saying, "At least Shrek became a princess sometimes," and Sarah shot back, "Don't count on it." Yes, she said that, at our engagement party in front of guests. When Lisa told me, I felt sick and nearly cried. Lisa wanted to confront Sarah, but I asked her to wait until I decided what to do. I took a moment to compose myself, not wanting to ruin the party or upset Mark's elderly grandmother, who was there. I found Mark, pulled him into a quiet hallway, and told him what Lisa overheard. I was emotional, explaining how Sarah was humiliating me at our own celebration. Mark's face shifted from confusion to shock to anger, though I couldn't tell if it was aimed at Sarah or the situation. He said, "Are you sure she said that? That's unbelievable." I insisted Lisa was trustworthy, and it matched Sarah's private insults. To his credit, Mark didn't dismiss it this time. He looked angry and said, "I'm going to talk to her." I watched from afar as he pulled Sarah aside in a corner. The music drowned out their words, but I saw Mark gesturing upset and Sarah shrugging. She glanced at me, said something to Mark, grabbed her purse, and stormed out of the party. Mark returned and said, "I told her that was completely out of line. She claimed it was a joke taken out of context." I told her to leave if she couldn't be respectful. Sarah got defensive, saying, "Fine, if you're siding with her and accusing me of ruining your party, I'm out." So she left. I was mortified that our celebration had drama, but relieved Mark finally saw secondhand how awful Sarah could be. He apologized repeatedly, saying, "I'm so sorry." I didn't think she'd stoop to saying that in public. The rest of the party was a blur, but I kept a smile on for guests. Most didn't notice anything except Lisa and my bridesmaids, who rallied around me with support. I'm so thankful for them. Afterward, Mark and I talked at home. He assured me he'd reprimanded Sarah and wouldn't tolerate her insulting me anymore. I asked what he told her. He said, "I told her I love you and she needs to stop this or she won't be in our lives." That reassured me. It was the firmest he'd ever been about her. But the next morning he slightly backtracked, saying he'd spoken to his parents, who were upset Sarah left the party. They didn't know why until Mark explained she'd insulted me. They apologized to us but urged him not to make rash decisions, like barring her from the wedding, without knowing the full details. Later, Sarah texted Mark, not me, a weak apology. "Sorry for the joke that caused a scene at your party. I was just being funny, didn't expect you to take it so seriously. I'll stay out of your way for now. Love you." To me, it felt like gaslighting, not remorse. I told Mark it wasn't a real apology. He agreed it was lame and said he'd talk to her again. That's where things stand. Sarah's on a timeout, and we haven't seen or spoken to her since. Mark's supportive in words, but I worry he'll soften over time as he hates conflict with her. I haven't banned her from the wedding yet, but am seriously considering it if she doesn't genuinely apologize and change. For now, we're We're waiting to see if she comes around, and Mark plans to have a sit-down with her to set firm boundaries. I'm skeptical but open to seeing what happens. Update 2. I wish I had good news, but things have taken a disturbing turn. I'm still reeling as I write this. After the engagement party, I tried to step back from the drama and focus on work and wedding plans. Mark and I have been tense, but he's been trying to be supportive. Sarah hasn't contacted me directly, no apology, and Mark hasn't had his follow-up talk with her as we wanted to let things settle. I was still weighing whether to exclude her from the wedding, guided by your advice. Many of you warned that Sarah might try to sabotage our plans further, given her hostility. I thought that seemed extreme. Would someone really go that far? A phone call a few days ago proved you right. During my lunch break at work, my phone rang. It was the bridal shop where I'm getting my dress, confirming that I wanted to cancel my final fitting appointment. Cancel? I was stunned. I told them I hadn't canceled. My fitting next week was critical, and I'd been excited about it for months. The manager paused and said, "Someone called claiming to be you, using your full name and details, saying they needed to cancel and would reschedule." She'd found it odd and called to verify. Thank goodness she did. I instantly suspected Sarah. I asked for the caller's number. The manager said it came from my cell number on file. That threw me. I checked my call log and there was no outgoing call to the shop. Then it hit me. At the engagement party, Sarah asked to borrow my phone, saying she left hers in the car and wanted to take a group photo. I handed it over, unlocked, without thinking, as I was busy hosting. She took a photo and returned it minutes later, saying, "Thanks, I'll send you the picture." Looking back, I don't know what she did in those minutes. Could she have found the shop's number in my emails or texts and called, pretending to be me? It sounds wild, but how else would the call come from my number? I was trembling with anger. I told the manager someone had impersonated me and asked that no changes be made without a password or email confirmation. She was shocked but agreed, noting in their system, "Bride suspects scam caller, confirm all changes in person." I thanked her profusely. After hanging up, I sat in my car, furious and violated. If the shop hadn't called, I could have shown up to find my appointment gone or my dress unavailable. What was Sarah's goal? Delay my dress? Cause chaos? It's pure malice. I called Mark, who was in a meeting, and left a voicemail and text. "Major issue, call me now, it's about Sarah." He called back 30 minutes later, alarmed. I explained everything. He was skeptical, saying, "That's crazy. Why would she do that?" He suggested it might be a scam or mistake. I was frustrated by his doubt and mentioned Sarah borrowing my phone. He admitted she'd also borrowed his phone that night to play a song. That made me wonder if she'd used his phone for anything else. Mark said, "If she did this, it's beyond acceptable, but we need proof before accusing her." Proof? The circumstantial evidence was strong, but I had no recording of the call. Sarah and I have similar accents, which might have helped her pull it off. Mark asked if I wanted him to confront Sarah. I hesitated, recalling your advice not to alert a saboteur until everything's secure. I told him to wait. Surprisingly, he agreed, sensing how upset I was. That evening, inspired by your suggestions, we made a plan. First, I called all our vendors, caterer, venue, florist, photographer, DJ, baker, to confirm our arrangements. I instructed them to accept no changes unless Mark or I appeared in person with ID or used a preset password. All were cooperative. The caterer mentioned a call from me 2 days earlier, asking about penalties for slashing the guest count. I hadn't made that call, nor had Mark. More evidence of Sarah meddling. Second, I got the bridal shop to email a summary of the cancellation call, documenting the date, time, and that it came from my number, claiming to be me. It's not definitive proof of Sarah, but records the incident. Mark helped with the calls and seemed to grasp the severity by the end. He looked angry and drained, muttering, "I can't believe she's doing this. It's unhinged." I broke down crying and he held me, apologizing. I asked, "Do you see it now, what she's done to me?" He said he did and was disgusted, promising to handle it. I wasn't ready to confront Sarah, wanting undeniable proof or to catch her in the act, as some of you suggested, with cameras or a recorded confession. I wasn't sure how to do that, but the idea resonated. Update 3. I wish I could say things have settled, but they haven't. I finally caught Sarah in the act, and it was both validating and heartbreaking. About a week after the dress shop incident, Mark's family had a small birthday party for Sarah's 5-year-old daughter at my in-laws' house. Yes, Sarah's a married mother, which makes her behavior even more shocking, a grown woman acting like a vindictive bully. I didn't want to attend after everything, But I love my future niece and didn't want to let her down or stir drama by skipping it. Mark had a work deadline and couldn't go, which made me nervous, but he reassured me, "My parents and other siblings will be there. Sarah won't try anything." I wasn't convinced but went, keeping my phone secure and staying vigilant. The party started fine. I avoided Sarah and she avoided me, sticking to hosting kids' games and chatting with her husband and friends. I helped my mother-in-law in the kitchen and played with the kids, trying to stay calm. I caught Sarah glancing at me. Her look wasn't friendly, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt, anger, or scheming. Later, I went to the backyard where the kids were on a swing set, chatting with Mark's other sister-in-law. I realized I'd left my phone on the kitchen counter while serving cake. Panic hit. I excused myself and hurried inside. The phone was gone. I asked my mother-in-law if she'd seen it. She hadn't but said, "Sarah was just in here." My gut screamed. I rushed down the hallway to the bedrooms, hearing Sarah's voice saying, "Yes, for the my last name Mark's last name wedding caterer." My heart pounded. I pushed open a slightly ajar door and saw Sarah with my phone to her ear. She froze, eyes wide. I stepped forward, voice shaking. "Sarah, what are you doing with my phone?" She held up a finger as if to hush me and stammered into the phone, "I'll call back," before hanging up. I was livid and snatched my phone back. The screen showed a call to our caterer 2 minutes long. She'd taken my phone from the kitchen and was trying to mess with our catering at her daughter's birthday party. I exploded. "I knew it. You're sabotaging our wedding. First my dress, now this. What's wrong with you?" Sarah didn't deny it. Instead, she shouted, "I don't care. You're not good enough for Mark. I won't let you ruin him." I yelled back, "How does canceling our wedding plans save him?" "Are you insane?" She kept repeating. "You don't belong here. You're not family and never will be." Her true feelings poured out. She thought she was protecting Mark by derailing our wedding. Our shouting drew a crowd. Mark's parents and relatives appeared confused. My mother-in-law asked, "What's going on?" I said, "Sarah's been sabotaging our wedding. She just used my phone to try canceling our caterer." Sarah screamed, "She's lying," though I held my phone, showing the caterer's number. Then she backtracked, yelling, "I was helping, just checking something for you." I snapped, "Checking what? How to ruin everything?" It was chaos. My father-in-law demanded the phone. I showed him the call log, clearly listing the caterer. His face, shock and disappointment said it all. My mother-in-law gasped, asking Sarah, "Did you really?" Sarah broke down crying, admitting, "Fine, I tried to cancel things for his sake. This wedding shouldn't happen." More shouting ensued. My father-in-law took Sarah to another room. My mother-in-law ushered the upset kids back outside. Relatives were stunned or distracted the children. I couldn't stay. I grabbed my things, walked out, and drove off, crying the whole way home. I probably should have stayed to explain, but I was overwhelmed. I texted Mark, "Caught Sarah trying to cancel our catering, left the party, call me." He was already calling, having gotten missed calls from the caterer, who tried to confirm after Sarah's call dropped. I told him everything when I got home. He was silent, then said, "I'm coming home." Mark arrived, hugged me, and apologized. He'd spoken to his dad, who confirmed the chaos. His father had ripped into Sarah, and her husband, stunned, was furious, leaving early with their kids, mortified. The party collapsed. Mark's parents called me that night, deeply apologetic and embarrassed. It was a relief to have their support, unlike Sarah. But Mark's reaction after was tough. He was horrified and admitted he'd been blind to Sarah's actions, feeling foolish. But when I said I wasn't sure I could move forward without him cutting Sarah off, at least temporarily, he hesitated, saying, "She's my sister. I need to know why she did this." I snapped, "Why does it matter? She admitted it." I was stunned he still sought an explanation after her confession. We had our worst fight. I told him I was rethinking the marriage if he couldn't fully back me. "I'm your fiancé, and she's attacked me and our relationship. I need you all in or I'm out." I may have said, "Grow up and cut her off or you'll lose me." It was harsh, but I was done. Mark didn't fight back. He cried, saying he was ashamed it took this to see clearly and felt he'd failed me. It broke my heart. He rarely cries. He begged me not to cancel the wedding, promising no more excuses for Sarah, no contact until she changes, unlikely, and no wedding invite for her. I said, "You know what to do. I'm holding you to it." I stayed at my sister's that night for space. She was floored by the story and took me for milkshakes to calm me. I'm still processing. Sarah's out of our lives for now, and she's definitely not coming to the wedding if it happens. The question is Mark. Can I trust him to prioritize me after this? I love him, and he seems awake to the truth, but it took so much. I need time to forgive. We've paused wedding planning to sort this out and ensure vendors are secure. I may update later, but I need a break.